Hey y'all, how you doing tonight? I hope you're doing well. I hope today was a little bit better for you. Welcome to Invisible No More on a Thursday night here on the Eclipse Pain Network. I'm Keith Johnson. I'm your host once again tonight. I want to say thank you for taking some time out. Thank you for coming in and ripping the mask off and just being you. If you're new to the world of Invisible No More, or Invisible as I tend to call it, what we are is just this group of folks, ragtag misfits that I love so much, that deal with a chronic illness or chronic pain situation, a mental health issue that can't be seen when you see somebody at the grocery store. Like, you can't see from the outside that they're fighting bipolar or fighting massive depression, or you can't see that they're in the middle of a POTS flare, or that they're living in chronic debilitating pain 24 hours, 7 days a week. We're all invisible in that way. And we all tend to be invisible to the healthcare system, to doctors, to nurses, to emergency rooms, to society, to the people at the grocery store, to our pastor, to our church folks, to the folks we play poker with. They see us from the outside, and without something growing out of our forehead, they don't see anything wrong. Well, in this community, we see it. We love you. That's the mantra of Invisible. You're seen, you're heard, you're loved, and you're not alone. And I promise you, I may not have walked in your shoes, but I've had those doctors. I may not have POTS, but I've dealt with a partner, a spouse that just doesn't understand that I'm struggling. This is a safe place to be you. Tonight's kind of a special event. No live tonight. I want to talk though about doing a cost-benefit analysis. I mentioned that I did this before I did my ESI, my epidural steroid injection. And I did this months ago, but I kind of kept redoing it as the date got closer to it last week. And I was talking about it on social media, and I got feedback, yeah, I do the same thing, and feedback, what the hell are you talking about? And I realized, I guess it goes back to what my therapist says. I deal with, at 58, I deal with undiagnosed ADHD, undiagnosed being on the spectrum somewhere, undiagnosed I'm really freaking neurodivergent. Because when it comes to major decisions in my life, buying a car, house, whatever, but especially my health, since I've gotten sick, since I've become disabled, I do a serious cost-benefit analysis on any kind of treatment a doctor or a care team suggests, whether it's a medicine, whether it's a procedure that requires outpatient or inpatient, or whether it's PT, or whether it's a whole new plan that they want to charm you on. And that's just how my brain works. It goes to that place automatically. And I was realizing that when people are saying, well, what is it? What can you explain it? That some of y'all, thank goodness, don't live in my head, and your brain doesn't operate like mine. So I want to talk about it real briefly, and why I think in certain ways it's extremely important in our care. Because the goal of Invisible and the goal of this entire Eclipse Pain Network, with Dr. Dustin on Monday, Jose on Tuesday, Katie on Wednesday, is individualized care. And I don't think there's a better example of individualized care than doing your own cost-benefit analysis when thinking about trying a new med, trying a procedure, or trying something else that your care team suggests. So basically what I do is I take paper and I'll write at the top pros of ESI, and I'll start researching. Like, I'm going to talk about the ESI a lot because it's just recent to me. For you, it may be a new medicine with POTS, or with you, it may be a new medicine that your psychiatrist is recommending to you. It could be a myriad of things, right? It's just changing your care in some way in an attempt to be a little bit better. Not to get cured or fixed necessarily, though that would be awesome, but just an attempt to be a little bit better. So I did a lot of research on ESIs, right? And I found out things like, 70%, studies have shown that 70% of people who get an ESI can get up to 50% relief. Holy Nikes, man. Just the thought of getting 50% relief for me was awesome. And then also, I did more research, and it kind of came to the conclusion that I put on the pro side, is even if this doesn't work, it's a diagnosis tool. It's a diagnostic tool, right? If it doesn't work, it helps my doctor and my care team, get more inquisitive to figure out what's going on. And so I'll write down, I wrote down like 8 different things that were really, really positive about the outcome, that I may actually get relief. And that to me is huge. Then I did the same thing for the cons, right? I mean, you hear these influencers, oh, if you do this, you're gonna like be legless. Your legs will disappear as soon as you take that pill, right? All the bullshit like that. Don't buy into the hype. You need to do your own research. And if you're not comfortable researching, reach out. Chances are a lot of these procedures and meds have been tried by somebody in the invisible community already. We've been down that path, and we can point you in direction for good news and bad news. So like I found out that yes, paralysis is a possibility with this type of stuff, but it's like less than 1% of the 9 million that are done a year. I found out that like hematomas, I think that's what they're called, like the needle can accidentally hit a blood vessel and then you get internal bleeding, and holy Nikes, that scares the hell out of me. But it happens extremely rare. Then I've put down as well, because I said at the top, a pro would have been a diagnostic tool if it didn't work, and then a con is it doesn't work. You spend all this time, effort, and money, and it doesn't work out. So I listed about 7, 8, 9, 10 totally negative things. I want to caution you though, don't get fatalistic when you're doing this. Just list them out, okay? Just list them out. The next step I did was the cost, and I'm not talking just the cost of the dollar amount coming out of my savings account, because for me it was outrageous. By the time I paid for the hospital thing through Medicare and hotels and travel expenses, it was over $700. Hopefully yours isn't that much. Maybe it's a medicine that your insurance will cover, or it's PT that they'll cover, right? But you need to have that cost in there. But when you do your costs, don't forget things like the cost of you and your environment, right? The cost of actually doing the procedure, trying the medicine. Like, for example, you're a pilot for Southwest Airlines, and your doc must have put you on gabapentin and you never tried it before. Gabapentin with some people can make them a little spacey, forgetful. Do you want to take that and then get behind the steering apparatus of an airplane, knowing that you may get a little spacey feeling flying that plane that's got a full load of people? That's your environment. That's the cost of doing it. So do you try to schedule taking a new med on a weekend on your days off, right? So is this procedure gonna knock you out for 24 hours? And if so, does that mean you miss your daughter's softball game or your son's basketball game? Or if you're the one that's typically making dinner at night, if you can't do that night, is the family taken care of? That's a cost that you're gonna have to negotiate. So keep that stuff in mind when you do the cost on it. It's not just the dollar amount, it's the impact of that treatment in the immediate and the not too distant future after you do it. A couple of weeks, where are you going to be at, right? Another example would be ketamine. If you haven't tried ketamine, oh man, I recommend it. It works for about 50% of the folks that try it. But those that try like the infusions or troches for the first time, and it can make you a little spacey up here for the first few hours after you take it. It means you're not driving a car. It means you're going to need a ride home. It means you're going to sit at the clinic for a few hours until that wears off. Make sure that you put all of that into, hey, do I want to try this? Because that is a cost. That's the cost of your time, your family's time, and your environment's time. Another thing I would recommend is, once you get your pros, your cons, your costs, try to find somebody to talk to. Try to find somebody to go over this paperwork with you. They don't necessarily have to be a person in the medical field. Maybe it's somebody that you love and that you trust, that truly wants the best for you. They want to see you be better. Not that they're going to rubber stamp anything, but what they're going to do is bring a different set of eyes to it. I've had people that I've brought my stuff to, and they're like, well, did you ask your doctor this? And I'm like, shit, no, that was a good question. Maybe I should get that question answered. Or typically for me, when I'm in a lot of pain, like I am right now, I can get really fatalistic. So I would get stuck on the cons, on the horrific cons, not the small ones, but the horrific ones. and some good friends of mine take the 2x4 upside my head and smack me back down to earth to remind me that while those things can happen, the chances of them happen are very minuscule. And one way that I think that a cost-benefit analysis changes from like in the business world or buying a new house or buying a car is your diagnosis. Whether it's POTS, EDS, depression, chronic pain. What's your goal with this treatment, with this new medicine, with this new plan? Are you shooting for 100% cured? Are you being more realistic with a lower number? Everybody has different fingerprints, right? We're all different. We're all going to respond different to to a chemical or to a procedure or to a therapy or to even a PT. So in saying that, your diagnosis is different inside you than it is someone else. As a chronic pain patient, my 8 is different than anybody else's 8 on the planet. So when I look at doing this ESI, and I looked at the pros and I looked at the cons, I know what it's like when I'm trying to lay down at night and I could only take half breaths because the pain that feels like a heart attack every time I take a breath, that sharp of pain, that horrific, and that'll last for well over an hour, hours. So what's my goal? My goal, I said I want a 20% relief. If I get 20% relief in this, I'm golden, and I'll do it again. Because my pain is that bad. Where is your diagnosis? Where are you at in the process of getting a diagnosis or living with it to where that situation is causing so much dramatic impact on your quality of life that you look at those cons and those low risks and you're like, you know what, I'm going to try it. I can't give you that answer. I can't tell you what percent to try, to shoot for. I would have loved 50% relief if I can get this out of this ESI, but I'll take 20. Actually, I'll probably take 10 because my 8 is that bad, and it's not always an 8 for me. And here's just a little friendly reminder of a toolbox. The more things we have in the toolbox that can give us 10 to 20% relief, y'all, that adds up. So like if I can pull off 20% on this ESI and then doc recommends another treatment in a few months and that takes another 20% off, that means if I was at a 8 before we started, I get down to a 6 and then another 20% a few months later gets me to a 4. I haven't lived at a 4 in years. I can't remember the last time I spent the day at a 4. So I guess my point in saying all that is be realistic. Be realistic in what kind of relief, chronic illness, mental health, chronic pain that you can get. If you want to see an example of a completed cost-benefit analysis, I've been working with Jennifer, and Jennifer is putting together mine that I did for my ESI, and then she's putting together the blank forms. That, if you go to my profile, like on Instagram, on TikTok, I'll see if Kevin can add it here as well. Go to my link tree. That document will be at the very top of the link tree. You just click on it, it'll take you right into a Google Doc. You can print it off. You'll see what my ESI cost-benefit analysis was, and then you'll also be able to print off blank forms. So if your doctor suggests a different treatment, a procedure, different plan, a medicine, you can do the research and write down the pros, write down the cons. You can write down your diagnosis or your pain. You can write down your cost and make a better decision, because see, what you're doing is you're focusing on how it would impact you. Very few things we can do that really shows focusing on individualized care are like this, because this is all about you and all about how this medicine, this treatment, this procedure can impact you, good or bad. And there's no right or wrong. You can't be told you're wrong for saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try it. You can't be told that you're wrong by saying, no, I'm not going to do this, because you're deciding for what's best for you, your life, your environment, your position, your diagnosis, and your quality of life. doing a cost benefit analysis like this isn't deciding something for the community, it's deciding it for you. And seriously, there's no better way to show that you're trying to get individualized care than putting it on paper right in front of you and determining for yourself, is this right for me? So if you have any questions, message me or find me on TikTok or find me on Instagram, or you can always email me, keithcpp@gmail.com. And if you don't have somebody to talk to, message me. I will find somebody for you to talk to. That once you do your cost benefit analysis, I will find you somebody if we need to, so you can get some feedback to make the right decisions for you. It's invisible no more, y'all. You're seen, you're heard, you're loved, you're not alone. We will be here for you. All this is free. You just got to ask. We love you. And y'all have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you. Peace.